Sports have been a vital part of the world's entertainment for many years now. The world was eager to learn more and more about sports because they took the public's mind off of more serious topics. Since the newspaper began covering sports, there have been tremendous advances in the area of sports media. In the earlier years, when sporting events were first introduced to the public, most people could only get their sports news by actually attending a sporting event or by word of mouth. No one saw sports as an important news topic, so it was excluded from any newspaper. The first news coverage of an actual sporting event was by a journalist named William Porter. He covered a horse race in his newspaper, The Spirit of the Times. During the Industrial Revolution, more and more immigrants began to fill into American cities. This expanded lower-class readership and sparked an interest in the world of sports. After the Civil War, baseball became very popular in America. By the 1920s, there was a daily sports page established in the newspaper. A sports author named Lawrence Wener explained that a survey revealed 80% of the American male population in the 1930s read a portion of the sports section in the newspaper. Because it was clearly seen that news coverage was on the rise, the Associated Press added a sports department to go with the growing trend. In 1929, about a third of the American population owned radios. Sports broadcasting took off on the radio. Graham McNamee was the first sports broadcaster. He was mostly famous for his second-by-second coverage of boxing matches.
As now, boxing still had overtones of gaudy showmanship. Heavyweight champ Primo Carrera took the ring against an Australian with an odd style, 4 fists.
Companies such as NBC and CBS found major profits in selling advertisements over the radio. Because of that, they influenced the radio a great deal. In 1934, the Ford Motor Company paid $100,000 to sponsor the World Series. With the invention of the television, the sports media world was a national sensation. In the 1950s, the National Football League was said to be made for television. It became America's leading spectator sport. Two big-name companies called CBS and ABC went head-to-head over owning the broadcasting rights to the National Football League and the American Football League. Both companies wanted to rule the television world. Once the dispute ended, CBS owned the broadcasting rights to the NFL. ABC pushed hard to make a deal with the American League, but NBC made them a better offer, so the AFL's television rights went to NBC. Several years later, the NFL and the AFL merged, and CBS and NBC were co-owners of the broadcasting rights of the newly formed NFL. ABC ended up starting their own sports show called The Wide World of Sports. They also broadcasted Monday Night Football and owned the rights to broadcast the Olympic Games. They were also credited with enhancing football by perfecting the instant replay, slow motion, and having highlight reels. Nowadays, sports media is literally in the palm of your hand. Once the internet was created, companies made their news available on their websites. Anyone with access to a computer could get their news. Eventually, after the invention of the cell phone and iPhone, people could download apps on their phone that would send news stories to them all day long.
To get my sports news, normally I use Twitter, Facebook sometimes, Barstool Sports, Bleacher Reports, stuff I can get directly on my phone.
Social media is probably number one for most people these days. Twitter, you can find anything in a second, follow who you want to follow. I still watch TV, gotta watch sports, man. I want to follow sports.
Through the years, coverage of sports media has increased exponentially. With the invention of the newspaper, radio, television, and internet, people could easily access the news more and more. Today, we effortlessly get our sports news, and there's no telling what advances in technology will do for its readership in the future.
Sports media in the future, it could be anything. It's really hard to say how it's going to evolve because you really don't know how it's going to change.